Finally, got the game week. It's exciting. Looking forward to it. Our players are definitely looking forward to it, getting tired of playing each other, going against each other, and looking for a new opponent and new schemes to go against. And like I said, we've gotten a lot of our things in that we need to get in: offense, defense, and special teams, and developing where we're going. So we've had some good scrimmages so far. Guys have practiced hard, done a great job. I think we've made tremendous progress. As we were looking at some spring tape compared to fall tape and the last scrimmages and comparing tape and how guys are playing, and you can judge their development and the things that are going on. Very happy with that. Again, long way to go, nowhere close to where we need to be and can be. And but as they continue to grow and what we're trying to do, it'll get better and better. But looking forward in the challenge, we need to play an opponent and go out there and get ready for Northwestern State. So we're looking forward to that challenge. Question?
To the right first, Gabe, and then Sam.
Jimbo, Gabe Bach with Texas. Can
Yes,
you take us through some specifics of guys that, man, they really are popping on tape right now versus the spring?
You know, I think the safeties jump out at me because it's safeties like quarterback. You got to make calls. You got to make different adjustments, the things in that regard. I think Derek Tucker, Dono, Carper, I think all those guys are growing in that area. I think the corners. I keep saying that. Renfro and Oliver have jumped out. Chapman, unfortunately, he got hurt. I thought was playing outstanding. Fuller's done some good things. Miles Jones. I mean, those guys have all played well at corner. Linebackers, I think Dotson and Locke are really understanding what we're doing. Up front, Kiki is a boy. I mean, and I know I'm going back to some guys, whether he's inside or outside. You're talking about a guy now that's went inside at tackle, going outside at end, and the diversity in which he gives you and packages to match him up at different places. Mac. On defense, the physicality he brings you up front. Matabuke, of course, I think again, he was our player of the spring or whatever last spring, and him in that regard. It's unfortunate Clemens is out, but Durham is, he's a guy, man, he just makes plays. He can rush, he can get on the edge, he can drop, he can do so many things. I mean, offensively, I think the offensive line is really gelled. I think the inside, the physicality of them, when they run the ball, McCoy and those guys inside with Hawker and Sutherland, those guys in there, McCollum, all those guys. Prater, those guys are all developing some depth. The young tackles have really come on. 65 Reed and Green, those guys have done a really good job. And behind him, Deesh and those guys have done it. The young tight ends for coming in the program. And I know I'm going through everybody, but I could go across the board. I mean that. Jace Jace should have played in 1955. I mean, I say that. And I mean, even when he struggles in practice, in other words, if he drops a ball or misses assignment, and it makes him go harder. I mean, it never quits, never perceives. He had a stretch yesterday. I'll say he doesn't drop many balls. He dropped a couple drops in a row trying to make big plays. I'm frustrated. Coach gets on him a little bit. All of a sudden, bam, bam, bam. There's 3 great catches right after that. Okay, yes sir. Goes about his business, frustrates himself, moves on. You don't see that. You know what I mean? Doesn't pout, doesn't anything. Trevor. Doing a great job in there. The young defensive end. The other tight ends are doing a great job. Our backs, Travion, I can't say enough good things about. Not just his ability, but his leadership, his ability to provide toughness, and also really understands how to work in the backfield. When a back does in protections and blocking, when he's getting out on the route, and say for instance, we know we got a tough matchup there with that defensive end. If he gets out, he gets a little chip, or he's looking and has his eyes in the right place all the time, just picking up, as I say, garbage. In other words, something flies out of the truck, a piece of garbage, it can screw up the play. He's there picking it up for you. Always making a chip, always making a block, making a call. Just not just his physical abilities, but his mental ability to compete and understand how to affect guys with what he does. Etway's had a great camp, and those young backs have all done well. The quarterbacks, I've said that before. Both guys are developing and playing really good football. I feel very confident with both guys and the knowledge of what we're doing. And the receivers, those guys are emerging and making plays. Jamon is doing a great job. Getting Courtney back in that grape is great. Buckley's doing a great job in there. Paul, there's a good group of them. Rogers, Hezekiah, all those guys have been productive and made plays throughout, and these young guys are doing a good job, and Preston, all those guys. So I'm pleased in it. I am. Our kicking game, we're not where we need to be, and are we perfect? No. Are we super? I don't know that. I don't know if we are, but I like the attitude, direction, and the way they're playing and competing. And I can go through the whole roster. I said it, we just had a meeting in the last 2 days, and we were watching tape and comparing and looking at our schemes and where we're at and what we did in the spring compared to what we're doing now, and evaluation of players. Is this guy really getting better? So you pull up his clips from spring to now to what you're doing. And in that regard, the development of them has been really, really good. So we'll see.
Third row right, Sam.
Jimbo, Tuesday after practice, you mentioned you hadn't read the story that came out in USA Today. Assuming you have by now, what was your reaction to the allegations levied against your program?
We take them very seriously, and we're open to all inquiries, and we'll be very open in our records of everything we have. We feel very confident in the things in which we have done.
Do you have any reason to believe that your coaching staff or your training staff has either committed any violations or mistreated players in any way?
We'll address those when they come, but we'll have records, and we'll cooperate in any way, shape, and form in which they want to have. And again, I say we feel very confident in our program and how we've done things.
Other questions? Right down front, Brent, and then Suzanne.
When you install a more complex offense than what has been around here, how much do you allow for a learning curve with your guys? I know
a lot.
It's
You
a
understand
tough
it.
September, but
It is, and I say it's like and when you put a lot of things in, I always say when you're putting your offense in, it's like a library. So you got to have things that they are exposed to, and they may not have them all the way polished. And some of the things we put in may not be for the first 3 or 4 games. They may be something that I think we'll need in games 6, 7, and 8 against an opponent we have that I know I've played, or a defensive coordinator I've went against, or from the film breakdowns we have. So when you review it for those weeks coming up, you rep it, get it to where it's in there, and then you put it like a book on the shelf. Then later on, you go, when you need that book, you pull it out, and at least it's not foreign to them, that you can take a couple days, polish it up, and be good at it. So part of that in installation too is it's not as, you won't carry as much into a game as you carry all the way through your fall camp. And I'm a big guy who likes to install whole, part whole. And what I mean by that, that's throw it all out there. Because if you keep waiting, well, it's just like when I get enough money to build the porch, when I get enough money to put a pool in, guess what? 25 years later, you don't have a pool or a porch. You know what I'm saying? And my point is, so you try to get it all in, and even though it's frustrating for them, and then some guys pick it up, and then you go back and reteach it very chronically and very detailed again after you put it in once, and then break it down again like installation days, and then you have enough of it in so they can have a grasp of what's going on. So we do have to do that, and we know there's going to be learning curves in it.
Suzanne, and then Ben.
Hi, Suzanne Halliburton, Austin American Statesman. On your quarterback situation, it's an either or on for the first team. When do you plan on making that decision?
As we'll see, that somebody will have to start off the game, but right now I feel very comfortable with both guys. Both guys, when you look at scrimmages, when I look at, all right, quarterback gets down to 2 things as far as the physical parts of things: decision making and accuracy. Can he make the right decisions, whether it's a run or a pass? Can he take care of the ball? And can he manage crises that don't have anything to do with him? So we talk about throwing and all that. Throwing the ball is important, and it is. You got to be accurate where you hit, but then you got to manage crisis. You got to influence players. You got to manage players, how the team responds to you, the type of things in which you think you have to do as a team to move the football. And that's not only based on your offense. See, that's where we get confused, in my opinion, of what does this team have to do to be successful? Do we have to outscore people? Do we have to be conservative? Do we have to, and certain games are different. You have to play to your defense plays to your offense, and what you do. And so, those decisions of their performance will also be based off what our team needs and the type of players we have around them, not only on offense, but on defense and special teams, of how we have to have success in that game and how we have to move it in that game. So in a weird way, sometimes you can be exposed to being a starter or a non-starter that are things a little bit out of your all you can do is control what you can control. But I feel very comfortable that both guys can go in and play winning football.
Second row, Ben.
Jimbo,
Yes, sir.
when you look at the talking about the quarterback situation, is it essentially a tryout for who's going to be the starter for the Clemson game? I mean, are you using that first game to evaluate who's going to be the guy going forward?
It's not a tryout. I mean, it's just whoever plays the best, and we'll play guys. And I'm not going to. And I'm not a guy who likes to. I say, okay, you get 2 series. We'll probably whoever we play, we'll play according to what we have to have in that game. The other guy would play whatever we do. So it's no, because at the end of the day, that's still just as important a game as a Clemson game.
Far left. Justin, sorry.
You're good. Coach, from your experience, does the team need to know who the starting quarterback is going to be so it can rally behind one guy?
No, they need to do their job. No, they don't. I mean, they'll feel they play with both guys in there every day in the routine which we go through, and they've done a great job with that. So we've gotten better and better.
Far left, Coach Cease.
Coach, I think at your introductory press conference, someone asked you about how long it would take to build this a top program, and you said like yesterday or something along about you want to win now. Now that you've been here for a while, how do you feel? That's a little bit of coach speak, but how do you feel where you're at as far as building this program?
Again, I like it. I mean, I like the direction our team is going. I mean, the way we're playing, you got some young guys really emerging and coming on. And the good thing about it, we've had guys that are emerging now that that I didn't know anything about before, and you still don't know about till you coach a guy. But I mean, for instance, the tight ends that have come on. and the significance they've had. The backs that have, some of these young backs that have done some things, some young linemen that hadn't played a lot in the past, some of these defensive linemen. I feel confident about our football team. I do. I like our football team. Now we have to be able to go out and do it for 60 minutes and 80 plays or 70 plays or however many plays there are, and understand how to compete. And we're at that next stage. You know what I mean? We're going to take a test, and we've prepared and see where we're at. But again, I like, more than anything on this team, I like two things: attitude and competitiveness. I like our attitude about how we approach practice. The guys want to get better. They're coming to ask questions. They're doing things, and they're getting to be very, very competitive in practice with each other, with respect to each other. Making each other better by being physical, but at the same time not being detrimental to where you're taking cheap shots on guys and learning how to practice, and we've gotten much better.
Third row right, Sam.
Jimbo, how will the communication work on game day? I guess, are you calling the plays, Coach Dickey up in the press box? How does that work?
Coach Dickey will be in the press box giving out things and ideas and going through our game plan and our thoughts, and I'll send the plays in. But, sometimes, like I say, Ray, yes, that's what we want to do. We'll each know what we want to do, and other coaches will too. It's not just always the coordinator. Some guys will say, guys, hey, give me some thoughts between series. And guys, hey, Coach, remember this worked good here. Remember this worked good here. Now, sometimes as position guys, it's funny, the running back guy gives a running back play, tight end guy gives a tight end play, and receiver guy gives a receiver play. And no, I joke about it. We used to tease guys about that. But it is. But I love that because you do. As a head coach, you're going through things. Yeah, Coach, remember that was something we talked about that we liked. And I love that open communication while you're doing it. Now, when you're calling a game in a series, it has to be, where you're going. But when you're in between, listen, we're a conglomerate. Nobody is the guru. We have a group of people who decide on decisions that we base things on, and I have to make final decisions. Mike makes a lot of final decisions what we do on defense, and I do overall as a team. But, we take everybody's input, and that's why I love the coaching staff we have. There's a lot of experience and a lot of guys who understand, that could call a game, and you feel very confident with their information. And
I know different coaches head coaches handle it different ways. Why do you believe in being the primary play caller?
Well, because I think I still love to be involved with the quarterback. And that's something that got me to where I was going. And I think being able to see is one. And I think that's very important on the play caller, and this is something that I feel very passionate about and love to do. And I think when you call a game through the quarterback's eyes. There's times you're going to have to tell him, all right, we're going to have to go on a limb race. Maybe something you don't like or you're uncomfortable with, but we got to have this to win. Gotcha, Coach. And he understands why. But I understand what he can do, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, according to what situations I put him in, whether it's run, pass, how advanced on third down he is, how advanced our team is. And I think that's very important that you can do that. Now Daryl could do that in 2 seconds. I like doing that, and I still like coaching. I still like the fun part of all these things.
Right side, Gabe.
Jimbo, you got no receivers, junior and senior, on scholarship. You got a bunch of young guys out there. Mm-hmm. How much have they benefited from Damian Craig being a former quarterback, right?
Yes.
But then B, a former quarterback for you at Auburn?
Well, he knows how we want to work and how Damian knows so many nuances, because a lot of these same things we did with Damian as a player. And he knows how I coach, the way I do, and I tell you what, when a receiver can it's amazing. You wish every quarterback could go be a receiver and learn how to get off press and all the things they got to do. And then a receiver say, well, I'm open. Well, all right, but it's taking about 3.5 seconds. There's a bunch of, people on that other side that are coming at you that don't want to stand there for 3.5 seconds, and how long things take, and they can see things through a quarterback's eye. I think that's a very great observation by yourself, because letting receivers understand what goes through a quarterback's mind, and also how you act in your body language when you run a route. Well, Coach, I'm running the steps, but are you triggering the route? Are you dropping your weight to give me a key of where to throw it, how to throw it? And can I count on you in certain situations? Because, a quarterback, we all said that. We've been back there and there's a route called and it goes to that guy. And that's the coverage. But something? He's failed me 2 times in a row. A quarterback thinks like that. Where do I want to go with the ball? Do I think of the plays or do I think of the player? And it's both. And I think that perspective for them has really helped them and made them grow.
To the very back, Daryl Bruffett. Then to the left, Cease.
Coach, can you talk about, I know Thursday night's going to be all about your execution, but can you talk about the things that Northwestern State will present you that may cause you guys to react differently?
Yeah, they'll play good. But they've gotten quite a few transfers on offense. Big receivers in Ferguson, the guy from Texas Tech, the receivers they've had in there, they spread the ball out. And anytime you get in space and you have skilled guys, man, it makes things tough. They throw it around, they get it out of their hand. Quarterbacks know what they're doing. They can run, and then all of a sudden you start playing the pass. You can run the ball up front, and you get spread in that regard. I think they do a great job in that defensively. They bring pressure. They'll get to bear looks in different ways. They'll bring pressures. They're a very well-coached football team, and Coach has been there long. Coach Larry's been there and was a defense coordinator there at different times, so he'll know the big thing is going in as a head coach, which gives him an advantage too in that regard. You say a new head coach, but he knows the players. It's kind of like when I was at Florida State when I became the head coach after head coach in waiting. I was new, but I still really knew the players, what made them tick, the buttons they push. So they'll be able to make progress. And Northwestern State over time, I say they were 4-8 last year. I know that, but in time they've had some tremendous players there, and it's got a tremendous tradition at the school, and they'll play well.
To the left, Cease, and then to the right, Ben.
Yes, sir.
The new freshman rule, now that the first game's here, how many do you plan maybe we'll see?
We're going through that right now, but there's a lot of guys in that 2 deep, and we're going to have to play a lot, especially when you're talking about special teams. So we'll play a majority of our freshmen. Sometimes anymore there's a few offensive linemen or so that you may not, but with the skill levels and the numbers you are on your team, when you're talking about the amount of special team plays and depth that you go in, now that you're in no huddle situations where teams are running 70, 80, 90 plays a game, you're going to have to play those young guys. And also, we have to do it because later on, listen, guys get banged up, guys get bruised up, and we need to play them early to develop them for later in the season and things to go. So I would say, and if you ever look at my track record, as far as playing, that it's probably about a 75% rate that freshmen play. I mean, 75% of our incoming class. And it's usually some of your big guys that don't sometimes, offensive and defensive linemen most of the time, or DN, something like that. It's just a little bit, because physically sometimes that can hinder you. Just being able to play down in there. Or sometimes a quarterback or something like that that's a young guy. But, most of all those other positions, they'll be in there getting significant reps somewhere.
Second row, Ben, and then to the left, Travis.
Jimbo, how has Kellen's accuracy developed from the time that you first got him to now?
We just talked about that today. His hand placement, his hips, his eyes, tremendous. I think yesterday in practice, I think he was over 80-some% from top to bottom. Balls hitting, that's counting drops and everything. He had a great day. And throwing the ball much more accurate down the field, understanding leverage and air and getting his hands and his hips and his feet, throwing the ball with his feet and hips very well. Does a great job keeping his eyes up in the pocket, making throws, delivering it on time. I've been making out throws. And I always judge guys, if you make the out, everybody talks about the arm strength to make an out throw. That's great. But how about those throws between the hashes? That means you're processing information. Those are right in front of it, but there's a lot more variables that go the more you come in the middle, and he's been making tremendous decisions in there, as Nick has too. But Kellen's accuracy and his development and his demeanor and even his leadership. Kellen was a very quiet guy as far as he'd tell you what he thought, but now he's starting to come out of his shell, as I say, talking, putting that on other people and doing a great job. I've been very, very pleased with his progress.
To the left, Travis, and then Suzanne, you'll wrap us up.
How much of Daryl Dickey's scheme and philosophy have you found has kind of melded into your own philosophy?
Very similar, because I say this before and people didn't realize. Daryl and I used to meet a long time ago. When he was at North Texas, he would come down to LSU and we would meet. We had common friends and new people, and philosophically, we're very similar. And I have done a lot of things he did while he was at Memphis at different times, and vice versa. And he's done things that I've done when he was at North Texas and different things. And I think we mesh very well. I think our philosophies are, and very well, and feed off each other well, and he's got some great ideas and things we're doing.
Third row on the right, Suzanne, you'll wrap us up.
Just kind of a big picture question.
Yes, ma'am.
As Aggie fans get to know you, as we get to know you, Thursday's first game here, what's your game day rituals? Do you have any kind of superstitions? Did you learn something from Nick or from Bobby?
No, I think it's be who I am. Certain times I'm gonna get to say to him. Certain times I'm gonna where I walk out on the field. When certain drills are going on, or when you come out of the tunnel, or different. When I go back and things I like to do, I'm very in that regard. Nothing crazy. I just very systematic, I guess would be the word. I guess ritual wouldn't be. It'd be more of systematic, staying on course, staying on schedule for what we're doing. Like practice, we got so many minutes for this, so many minutes for that, and just put you at ease and make sure you're checking off the boxes, because that's the big thing when you go in those first games, especially when you're in a new place, checking the boxes to make sure you've hit all the special teams things that could possibly happen. You have all the substitutions that could possibly happen. Are there no freshmen at those key points sometimes that you could go, you forget and you put him at a key point? Some freshmen can handle it, but very few can. You bring them in the right way. Just so many things, and from that regard that I'll be worried about. But right before the game, there's a few things that when I get dressed, all that type of stuff, I'm usually pretty systematic.